What if the reason you feel different is because you were never meant to fit in? In life, there is a moment that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with noise or celebration. It comes quietly, in the middle of ordinary days. You are surrounded by people who seem fine with the way things are. They accept the rules. They repeat the path. They call it life. But you hesitate, not because you are lost, but because something about it feels too small for what you sense inside you. It is not rebellion. It is awareness, a feeling that you were not designed to just blend into the world, but to understand it differently. And that is where the difference begins to speak. This is the story of a seagull who refused to live like the rest. While his flock spent their days fighting over food and surviving from one day to the next, Jonathan Livingston Seagull was obsessed with something else. Flight. Not for survival, not for necessity, but for the sheer joy of learning, improving, and discovering what was possible. The others saw a bird. Jonathan saw potential, and that single difference would lead him down a path of failure, rejection, loneliness, and ultimately, greatness. Because this is not just a story about a seagull. It's a story about anyone who has ever looked beyond the ordinary and wondered, what if I was made for more? The morning sun shimmered across the calm sea, turning the water into a field of gold. Near the shore, fishing boats had already arrived, and soon the sky filled with seagulls rushing toward them. Hundreds of birds circled, dived, and fought for scraps of food. For most seagulls, this was life. Food was the goal. Survival was the purpose. But far beyond the boats and far from the flock, one seagull was doing something no one else cared about. Jonathan Livingston Seagull was practicing. Alone in the open sky, he twisted his wings into difficult angles, trying to master a kind of flight no seagull had ever attempted. Again and again, he slowed himself to the edge of a stall. Again and again, he lost control and fell. Any other gull would have seen failure. Jonathan saw a lesson. Most seagulls never bothered to learn more than what they needed. They learned enough to travel between the shore and their food, and that was enough. But Jonathan wanted more. To him, flying wasn't simply a way to eat. Flying was freedom. Flying was discovery. Flying was the thing he loved most. His obsession confused everyone around him. His parents watched with concern as he spent entire days alone, practicing over the ocean while ignoring the things that mattered to the flock. One day, his mother finally asked, "Why can't you be like the others, Jonathan?" His father reminded him that winter was coming, that food would become scarce, and that a seagull's purpose was not to perfect flight, but to find something to eat. Jonathan listened respectfully. He even tried to live like the others. For a few days, he joined the flock. He fought over scraps. He chased fishing boats. He did everything a normal seagull was supposed to do. But it felt empty. Every moment spent fighting for food felt like time stolen from something greater. There was still so much to learn. So Jonathan returned to the open sea. Hungry, alone, but happy. And there, he became obsessed with one thing: speed. He climbed high above the ocean and dove toward the waves. Faster, and faster, and faster. Again and again he lost control. Again and again he crashed. The force of the impact threw him into the water countless times. Yet he refused to quit. Each failure revealed another piece of the puzzle. Each mistake taught him something new. Eventually, he discovered that if he stopped flapping at high speeds and held his wings steady, he could fly faster than any gull in history. For a brief moment, he achieved what no seagull had ever done before. But when he tried to pull out of the dive, disaster struck. The air tore at his wings. His body spun out of control, and he slammed into the sea with devastating force. That night, floating alone beneath the moonlight, exhausted and broken, Jonathan began to doubt himself. Maybe his father had been right. Maybe a seagull was never meant to fly this way. Maybe he should stop chasing impossible dreams. Maybe he should simply accept his place and live like every other gull. For a moment, he believed it. For a moment, he decided to give up. But sometimes the greatest discoveries arrive when we are closest to surrender. And in the darkness, a single idea flashed through his mind. A tiny change, a new possibility, a different way to use his wings. By moving just one feather, only a fraction of an inch, he could carve a smooth, controlled curve through the sky at incredible speed. But he also learned something dangerous. At that speed, if more than one feather moved at the wrong moment, the air would grab him and spin him out of control like a rifle ball. It was here that Jonathan Livingston Seagull achieved something no gull had ever done before. The first true aerobatics in history. But he didn't stop. Not for rest. Not for pride. That day, he left the world of the flock behind. He flew on, long after others had returned. Past sunset, into the fading light. And there, alone in the sky, he discovered more. The loop, the slow roll, the point roll, the inverted spin, the gull bunt, the pinwheel, each movement, a new language written in the sky. By the time Jonathan returned to the flock, night had already fallen. The beach was quiet, dark, still. He was exhausted, dizzy, but inside him there was only joy. And even in that fatigue, he performed one final perfect loop, finishing with a snap roll just before landing. As his feet touched the sand, a thought burned inside him. When they hear this, when they learn what is possible, they will understand. They will be amazed. They will be free. Because life is not meant to be this narrow path of survival. Not this endless struggle for scraps. There is more. So much more. We can rise above ignorance. We can become something greater than what we were taught. We can discover excellence. We can discover intelligence. We can discover skill. We can be free. We can learn to fly. The years ahead shimmered with promise. Jonathan returned to the flock, unaware that he was being summoned. The council gathering had already formed. Thousands of gulls stood in silence, waiting. Then the voice came. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, stand to center. A sacred command, reserved for only two things: great honor or great shame. Jonathan stepped forward, calm but uncertain. He believed they had seen it. The breakthrough, the proof of what flight could become. But the elder's voice was cold. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, you are standed to center for shame. The word struck harder than any wave. Shame? Impossible. Everything he had done, every failure, every discovery, every flight, was for something greater. But the council continued. For reckless irresponsibility, violating the dignity and tradition of the gull family. Then came the sentence. Banishment. Exile to the far cliffs. A life alone. The elder finished. Life is unknown and unknowable. We exist only to eat and survive. That was when Jonathan finally spoke. His voice broke the silence. Is it irresponsible, he said, to search for meaning beyond survival? For 1,000 years we have lived the same way, but now there is more. We can learn. We can discover. We can be free. But the flock did not listen. They had already closed their minds. The brotherhood is broken, they declared. And one by one, they turned away. Jonathan Livingston Seagull was cast out. Asterisk. He lived beyond the far cliffs, alone. But not empty. For the first time, he was free. And in that freedom, he learned. He learned how speed could become precision. How precision could become survival. How survival could become mastery. He no longer needed fishing boats. He no longer feared storms. He no longer wasted energy on fear or anger. And without realizing it, he had discovered something rare. A life without limits. One evening, while Jonathan was flying deep in the vast open sky above the ocean, something changed in the air. The wind felt different. Still, balanced. Almost as if the sky itself was watching. And then, they appeared. Two gulls. Different. Perfect. They flew beside him with impossible precision. Silent. Controlled. Unreal. Jonathan tested them. He slowed to the edge of stall. They matched him. He dove at full speed. They followed. He rolled, twisted, climbed. They stayed with him, as if they had no limit at all. Finally, he stopped and asked, "Who are you?" Their answer was calm. "We are your brothers. We come from the flock. We come to take you higher." But Jonathan shook his head. "I have no flock. I have no home. I am outcast." Then they replied, "You can go higher, Jonathan, because you have learned. One school is finished, and another is about to begin. A silence filled the sky, and in that moment, Jonathan understood. They were right. He could go higher, and it was time to leave. He looked once more across the vast sky he had learned to love. Then he spoke softly, "I'm ready." And Jonathan Livingston Seagull rose into the night sky, with the two star-bright gulls, disappearing into the darkness above. And what he called heaven began to unfold before him. High above the clouds, flying in perfect formation with the two brilliant gulls, Jonathan noticed something strange. His body was changing, not into something different, but into something clearer, brighter, more complete. The young gull that had always lived within him was still there, but now the outer form reflected it. His feathers glowed white. His wings became smooth and silver like polished light. And he discovered something immediately. He could fly better than ever before. With less effort came greater speed. With less strain came more control. At first, he thought he had reached his limit, 250 miles per hour, then 273. And yet, something inside told him there was still more. But even here, there were questions. Why did he still feel tired? Why was the sky not filled with more gulls? Why did perfection still feel like something unfinished? The two brilliant gulls beside him spoke softly. "Happy landings, Jonathan." And in an instant, they vanished. He was alone again, flying toward a strange shoreline beneath a new sky. And there he saw others. A few gulls practicing, learning, living differently. As he landed on the sand, exhaustion finally caught him, and he slept. In the days that followed, Jonathan discovered something important. This place was not an end. It was another beginning. Here, flight was not survival. It was purpose. Gulls trained not to escape the world, but to master it. Hour after hour, they practiced speed, control, precision, and silence. And Jonathan learned faster than ever. But sometimes, just sometimes, he remembered Earth, a place of noise, of struggle, of gulls who believed flying was only for survival. And the thought began to grow inside him. What if there were others there? Still trapped? Still searching? Still believing they were limited? One evening, as he trained, he finally asked his instructor, "Why are there so few of us here?" The older gull, Sullivan, answered calmly, "You are not common, Jonathan. Most gulls take many lifetimes before they begin to understand that life is more than food or power or the flock. We move slowly from one world to another, forgetting each time who we were. But you learned in a single lifetime what others take thousands to discover." Jonathan listened in silence, and then Sullivan added, "Every gull chooses his next world by what he learns in this one. Learn nothing, and you repeat the same life again. But learn well, and you rise." They trained together through the sky, again and again, until one evening, Jonathan approached the elder, Chang, the oldest and wisest gull of them all. And Jonathan asked, "Chang, is this place heaven?" The elder smiled. "There is no such place." He paused. "Heaven is not a place and not a time. Heaven is being perfect." Jonathan was silent. Then Chang continued, "You are fast, Jonathan. But true perfection is not speed, it is being." And in an instant, Chang vanished, appearing far away in the sky, then beside him, then nowhere. Jonathan watched in disbelief, and for the first time, he began to understand. Not just flying, but existence itself. And so the training began again, harder, deeper, beyond what he had ever known. Until one day, Chang spoke again, "Keep working on love." And then, he disappeared. Time passed, and Jonathan felt something growing inside him. Not just knowledge, but purpose, because now he remembered Earth, and he understood something clearly. There were still gulls there, still trapped in limitation, still believing they could only survive. And Jonathan Livingston Seagull made a decision. He would go back, not to live there, but to teach. Years after returning to the flock, Jonathan was no longer flying alone. Around him now were students, outcasts, dreamers, gulls who had been rejected for asking questions the flock did not want to hear. Among them was one young gull named Livingston Seagull. Fletcher was fast, determined, fearless. and more than anything else, he wanted to learn. Jonathan watched him race through the sky, practicing difficult maneuvers that few birds could even imagine. Again and again, Fletcher pushed himself beyond his limits. Again and again, he failed. But like Jonathan before him, he always got back up. One day, after another disastrous mistake, Fletcher dropped beneath the clouds in frustration. "You're wasting your time with me," he shouted. "I try and try, but I'll never master this." Jonathan glided down beside him. "Calm, patient, certain. You will never master it," he said, "as long as you fight the sky." Fletcher looked up, confused. Jonathan continued, "Flying is not force. It is understanding. Be firm, but be smooth." And together, they climbed back into the sky. Months passed, and Fletcher was not the only student anymore. One by one, other outcasts joined Jonathan. Gulls who had been rejected, misunderstood, or simply unwilling to accept that life was meant to be nothing more than survival. Soon, Jonathan had 7 students, and every day they trained. Higher, faster, better. But while learning new maneuvers was exciting, understanding why they flew was much harder. In the evenings, after long hours in the sky, Jonathan would gather them on the beach. And there he taught lessons that went far beyond flight. "Each of us," he told them, "is more than a body of feathers and wings. We are expressions of freedom itself. The limits we believe in are often the only limits that exist." His students listened, but most of them were too exhausted to fully understand. They loved the flying, the speed, the challenge, but the deeper meaning behind Jonathan's words still felt distant. One night, Jonathan looked at them and said something that surprised everyone. "It's time." The students exchanged uncertain glances. "Time for what?" Fletcher asked. Jonathan turned toward the horizon, toward the place they had all once called home. "The time has come to return to the flock." The reaction was immediate. "We're not ready," one student said. "We're outcasts," said another. "We're not welcome there." For thousands of years, no outcast had ever returned. It was one of the oldest laws of the flock. But Jonathan simply spread his wings. "We are free," he said. "Free to go where we wish. Free to be what we truly are." And with that, he lifted from the sand, turned toward home, and flew east across the sea. For a moment, the others hesitated. Then Fletcher looked toward the shrinking figure of his teacher and made his choice. The others followed. Together, they flew toward the flock. Years after Jonathan Livingston Seagull had vanished from the beaches of the flock, something strange began to happen. Not all gulls had forgotten him. Not all gulls had accepted the silence. Some remembered the sky differently. And from that memory, something new began to grow. Not a rebellion, not a religion, but curiosity, a quiet questioning that refused to die. Among those young gulls was one named Anthony Seagull. He was different, not stronger, not wiser, but more honest with the emptiness he felt. To him, life had become nothing more than repetition. Flying, eating, surviving, and calling it purpose. But deep inside, he knew it wasn't enough. One day, Anthony could take it no longer. He climbed high above the sea, higher than usual, and then he stopped. The world below looked small, silent, meaningless. He thought, if this is all life is, then maybe it should end. And so he began his dive, straight down, faster and faster, toward the water, toward silence, toward the end of everything. But then, a sound broke the air, a rush. A blur of white light tore past him like a thought escaping time itself. Anthony froze midair. What he saw was impossible. A gull, not falling, not surviving, but dancing with the sky. The stranger climbed effortlessly into a vertical roll, turned, fell, recovered, and rose again as if gravity was only a suggestion. Anthony's wings locked. His fear disappeared. Only wonder remained. "Hey," Anthony shouted. "What are you doing?" The stranger tilted in the air beside him, calm, unbothered, alive in a way Anthony had never seen before. "I'm just flying," the gull replied. "Having a little fun. A dive, a roll, a loop. Nothing special." Anthony stared. This isn't normal flying." The stranger smiled slightly. "Normal is just what most gulls agree on. Anthony struggled to understand. "Who are you?" The gull paused. The wind moved quietly between them. And then he answered, "You can call me John." And in that moment, Anthony Seagull stopped believing that the sky had limits.